What's up, YouTube? I'm Robert, and you're watching the B1KER Bar Podcast. It's like, this is the story of my life. Like, I am like so anti-spending money on anything except for bike parts. So like bike clothing doesn't fall into bike parts. So like,
I feel like I've heard you say something about 29er's in the same vein. So I know eventually you're going to come around, hopefully.
Oh yeah. Do you want to get, is that what we're going to talk about now?
I mean, there's only a couple things that you can get me talking for an hour on, but
well, let's do it. Let's do it, man. So I don't know if you're alluding to me talking about my chameleon. I think that's what you're doing.
Hey, hard tails, hard life. I'm just saying.
Yeah, right. Right. I for those of you guys that don't know, I was pretty staunch about not liking 29er's, and I still feel comfortable in explaining my position at the time. Every time I rode one, I felt like they kind of pointed their own way through the trail, and I didn't feel like it was like me controlling the bike as much as the bike kind of deciding where it wanted to go. And I think what that really equates to is I just didn't feel like the geometry was right, where it was like just felt as snappy as like a 26 and even a 27.5. I mean, it's not quite as snappy as a 26-inch wheel, but it was like, okay, I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of that for what you get back, you know, like the extra rollover and things of that nature, right? So, but the 29er, I could never do it. And when I got that Santa Cruz, that chameleon, it was like the first time I got on one, and like the first ride was like, oh wow, I mean, this feels good,
especially on a hardtail. Like I feel like hardtails exaggerate differences, right? Because you're going to feel the difference in a rear wheel if you have a carbon or a hardtail versus a full suspension. You're going to feel carbon wheels. You're going to feel, you know, I think trail feel downhill, and that's where 29er's I think shine a ton. Better rollability, more speed, more forgiveness, I think too, because of that. Once again, roots and bumps, you get caught up less, so you can maintain your speed and feel forgiveness, and that's why I fell in love with them. Like, and they're amazing, man. This is the thing though. Do you feel like it's just like it dumbs down the trails too? So that's a super good question, and my answer is no. I feel like 27.5 plus dumbs down the trails and makes your bike feel less leggy, which is interesting.
Yeah, I want to hear this. I'm really actually intrigued at this point.
Yeah, so I mean, if you really want to have the conversation, then you have to go back, right? So
yeah, let's do it. I mean, we got 2 hours.
Yeah, so it was 2 hours. I thought we were on here for 10. Anyway, so you go back in time. Yeah, when it was 26 and then 29 came on the scene, right?
Yeah.
And this was before I really got into mountain biking, but as I understood, like 29-inch wheels were like, this is the future, but it was on like cross-country bikes, like longer, lower, slacker bikes weren't out yet. And so a lot of 29er like bikes, like the front fork would feel way too like steep. And so you'd feel over the front. It just didn't feel awesome. And then, you know, there was a lot of bikes that came out with 29, but then the one that really changed the game, do you know what it was, Robert? It's a bike that I've owned the company of the bike.
Really?
It's Evil. The Evil Following came out, which was the short travel 29er.
They were the first one?
They weren't. No.
I was going to say, yeah. So they were the first one that really made an impact.
Yeah. And
yes,
so
I'll agree with you there 100%.
Yeah. And so they came out with this bike that was short travel, like aggressive geometry. Like still now they're on the Following V3, and it's not that much different than the original Following. And everyone
you did it right when you can do that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You just be like, yeah, we don't need to change anything.
Yeah, we nailed it. But everybody was like, yes, like they finally like found out how to make a 29er not feel too sluggish, not feel too cross country, but like actually give you advantages. And then since then, like, and I always say, if you want to look at like where trends are going, like look at EWS racers. I don't follow EWS racing, Robert. I know you don't follow it that much, probably more than I do.
No, I don't follow it at all.
But I always tell people, like, name, like right now or in the last 3 years, name an EWS rider that uses 27.5. You can't. Like almost, I would say 99% of those guys use 29er's.
You could actually like stump me just by saying name an EWS rider.
There you go.
I actually don't have a single one.
I mean, there were some YouTubers with me that did an EWS, so technically we are EWS riders.
Oh, you're going to go down that road. Okay.
I was going to be the daily EWS rider, but I thought I might get in trouble. So anyway, so the following comes out and 27.5 is taken over, 650B is taken over for 26. But as the years have slowly trickled on, every single bike company has now switched almost entirely to 29. They still make 27.5, but it's the bike that everybody rides. I think it's better for new people because it's, once again, less rolling resistance, free speed, as people say. And I think it's better for people who have been in the sport longer. And here's the thing. I'm not anti 27.5. I'm anti e-bike. We can get to that later. I think 27.5 has a spot and a place. But I think we're going to see the market be 70, 80% 29ers in the next couple of years.
I think after riding that Chameleon and then since then a couple of other 29ers, that I feel like they're really starting to I'm not a little tongue twisted about it. I guess I can't believe I'm actually going to say it, but they're really starting to dial that geometry in for the wheel. I think when they first came up with the wheel, they were like, oh, this should be a good idea. But they didn't really know what they were doing. You know what I mean? And it's like, now they got like, they stopped drinking their own Kool-Aid and they're like, actually, if we tweak this, like, and we do this, then it'll be better. But the thing to me about it that I feel like it does dumb down the trail. And I feel like, then the trails are just going to get gnarlier and gnarlier to like overcome that kind of dumbed down feeling. And I don't know, like, is that a good thing? Like, can they get gnarlier and still be like actually good for the environment, or like, are we just setting ourselves up for like every time we wreck, we lose teeth or what?
But could it you argue a full suspension bike dumbs down the trail compared to a hardtail?
Dude, you're 100% right, man. I think
a hardtail dumbs down the trail from a rigid bike. A rigid bike dumbs down the trail from a gravel bike. So why don't we just all put on spandex and lycra and slap each other's butts and ride gravel bikes?
Now that you put it like that, I'm in.
Dang it, Robert. I knew you'd be like, yeah, you're right. Let's do this.
If you like that, make sure you check out the full episode. And hey, do me a favor. Before you take off, hit the like and subscribe. A big thanks to the show sponsor, Tasco MTB. Click the link and show more to save 15% on your next purchase.